These are nostalgic Pokemon features I miss. To get right into it, I know you hear that music and we're starting off with a banger. The Soaring feature is genuinely one of my favorite things to come out of Auras. From the go to music to actually being able to ride on a Pokemon, because I think this is the first time in the games we get to do so. Plus, it's not just on any Pokemon, it's Latios and Latias. And yeah, their Megas do look like the purple Power Ranger, and I think riding on their normal forms would have been better, but it's still Latios and Latias. This feature, we got to explore the Hoenn region in a completely different way. It even added a unique way to get legendaries. Through this, we get to go to random islands and access Hoopa's portals that contain a bunch of different Pokemon. The day music was a lot more exciting, but when you soar at nighttime, the vibe completely switches and is a lot more chill. Riding Latias around just for fun with this banger playing really made me miss it whenever I hear this theme. Switching away from the chill vibe of the first feature, we have the Pokemon openings and intros. You're lying if you're saying this didn't get you hyped up to grind your Pokemon for 5 hours just so they're evolved in black and white. They did this throughout all the old games until they changed to the Switch era. These openings were a great way to introduce you to new characters, areas, and Pokemon without giving away too much. In Platinum's intro, we get so much content. We get to meet characters like Looker, Charon, and even Cyrus. Of course, we get to see the starters in new areas as well. Some even give exclusive content we don't get to see anywhere else. For example, at the start of Black and White, we see this random dude getting crowned king. That at least was pretty interesting to me. And then in the 3DS games, we get a lot of the same stuff as before, but also showcasing the new gimmicks. All of these intros and openings created a sense of mystery, hype, and wonder for what the new game holds. I really don't understand why they got rid of them, because I swear most of them are so iconic. Ruby, Sapphire, and Emerald are all beloved, and as soon as you hear them, it brings you back to that time. Literally every single one of these are so fire and only get really looked at as goated pieces from Pokemon. Personally, I also just like the old title screens in comparison to the new ones, especially when we were getting some crazy good music in different angles of the legendary Pokemon. Nothing against the new games, because I don't mind the chill title screen, but you gotta be doing some AZ is a good guy level copium to think these are better than these. I will say Sword and Shields is pretty tough just having your team chilling there when you boot up the game, but that still is just a title screen and not an actual opening. Instead, these newer games had an actual intro to them, but they didn't have an opening like the rest of them did. So yeah, maybe one day these will return. Until then, a human can dream. Now moving on to the next theme, which is pretty forgetful, but I actually miss the gates from old Pokemon so much. I don't blame anyone if they don't really care about this. It was in every game leading up to around Sun and Moon. It was especially peak in Black and White and X and Y. This is because they both got their own themes, and I won't claim which one is better, but let's just appreciate greatness. In these games, these gates had more of a reason to go back to, rather than the normal use of just transferring to a different area. There was the bulletin board, which showcased Pokemon mass outbreaks, as well as when there was a thunder or rainstorm, so the player could go catch Thundurus and Tornadus. I know there ain't too much going on with them, but it was always just a nice spot with chill music if you want to stop and take a break. To me, both of these themes are just so good. Other than that, there's not too much to them, but they always had a nice vibe. The next feature is the secret bases in Underground. As a kid, I thought these were so tough, and to be honest, they could have done a lot more with them, but I ain't complaining because I still spent so much time on them. Secret bases were in Gen 3 and felt a lot more personal than the Underground. You could make a secret base by going up to random trees, bushes, and caves that had these kinds of holes on them. After that, they could be decorated by items found at the Lily Cove department store. There were carpets, Pokédolls, and even tables. I just loved how you could decorate your rooms and make it your own. Again, it was pretty limited, but I'm glad it was in the game. The Underground secret base was less decorative, but more of a minigame. You would go underground and dig for spheres, fossils, and other rare items. These items you dig up could be traded to Hiker Harry to decorate the secret bases. My favorite part about the whole Underground was being able to play with your friends. My sister and neighbor used to play this so much. I probably have at least 10 hours on the Underground alone. We used to just spam play tag, but also capture the flag. What spices this up as well is you can set different kinds of traps. There was flames, bubbles, and the almighty push. I was kind of thinking this was only fun as a kid, but the more I think about it, the more I actually want to do this again. Getting 4 of your friends and playing a good game of capture the flag would be so fun even now. Both of these features were very much design oriented, and I just wish we can get an enhanced version of it in a Pokemon game now. Little Jit me loved the resort we got in Platinum, and thinking about it, they really didn't do anything crazy, but it was just so fun to have your own spot that you could design. So hopefully we might get some sort of design feature like this in a new game. I really don't get why they don't do it in the newer games. Spoilers for Legends EA, but at the end of the game, imagine if we were able to design the crib after AZ died. It could even turn into its own little simulator of you running the hotel. Speaking of simulators and mini games, Pokemon Contest was such a goated thing in Gens 3 to 4 before it got turbo trubbished in Gen 5. People love these contests due to them actually feeling like a separate option as a trainer. Becoming champion is really the only path you can take when playing the game. This different kind of paths thing is something I really hope they explore in the future. Paths such as breeders, professors, and gym leaders are all professions we can see in later games. If they did explore this kind of concept, it could make Pokemon that much more immersive. Pokemon contests were just that though. It was in very early stages of development, but it definitely was headed in the right direction. But actually, I guess not, because this dance thing in Black and White exists. They made contests feel like actual career paths by adding ranks to rise. There were 4 different ranks to climb. There was normal rank, great rank, ultra rank, and master rank. Of course, 4 ranks isn't a ton, and it wasn't as hype as getting that rank up in Val after being hard stuck silver, but again, it was headed in the right direction. For each rank, there's 5 different contest types. There's beauty, cool, cute, smart, and tough. After selecting a contest type, you would have 3 different minigames to play. The first minigame started with you dressing up your Pokemon. The way you dress your Pokemon depends on the theme they give you. For example, there was themes like solid, sharp, relaxed, and even drippy. Okay, that one didn't make it, but there was quite a few different themes that you would be given to do. There was also this puffin mechanic that made your Pokemon in the right condition for this dress up mode. I don't know if Game Freak's saying your milk take's gonna have to eat more fruits and veggies and stop with the Big Mac diet, but it's cool at least there's another feature added into these contests as a whole. The next contest mode is the dance competition. Pretty much one person leads and hits a little dancey dance, and everyone has to follow. If you time the movements perfectly, you get maximum points. But when you lead, you get free range to hit any dance move you want and try to make the competitors mess up. It's pretty much baby Guitar Hero if Guitar Hero was in Pokemon. So pretty much nothing like Guitar Hero, but you get what I'm saying. The last competition is the acting competition. In this competition, you use attacks depending on what type contest you pick. For example, if I choose the cool contest, I would have to choose a cool move. Each move has its own category of contest type. Moves such as Brick Break, Aerial Ace, and Drill Peck all fall under this cool category. When your Pokemon uses this attack, you have to aim it at one of the judges. Each judge has his own little meter bar thing, and if you're the person to fill it up, you get more points. So after the 4 rounds, the Pokemon with the most points wins the competition. And of course, whoever performed the best out of the 3 minigames wins the contest. You get ribbons for winning these contests, and it's such a fun thing to grind past the regular game. The storyline is actually so tough too, because when you get to Master Rank, you face your mom in the final challenge. If they brought anything like this back into the next Pokemon game, best believe I'm grinding. Now moving on to our last feature, I think it's one we all miss. With the newer games going towards open world, we would get a lot more world and a lot less interior. Honestly, I just miss being able to go into buildings, which sounds so whack, but I really do think this was such a big part of the Pokemon experience. Each town had their own buildings with inside interior that matched the aesthetic of the town. Places like the Pokemon Mansion, the football stadiums, and even the church in Hearthome City. There really is endless examples to this, but I feel like everyone would agree, even if you don't want to go into the buildings, it would be nice to have the option to. Another prime example of this is in X and Y. When you could go into the fashion store and look around, it felt way more immersive than a UI coming up on the screen. Not that Pokemon is a crazy immersive game, but actually going into the buildings make the city feel real. For example, in Scarlet and Violet, when a city is this big and has barely any buildings you can go into, it makes it feel a lot more soulless. When we reach a new town, that's part of the exploration. Going into any building and seeing if there's some unique dialogue, item, or even design choice we can find. Overall, these are just some of my favorite kinds of features and ideas from old Pokemon games. I would love to hear you guys' comments below, and I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I'll see y'all whenever I see y'all.